maker world. We are at a point where we are seeing a lot of accelerated change, and the people who are thriving in this kind of environment are those who are identifying as change makers, and those who are, and these are basically, men and women or young people who have given themselves the permission to demonstrate their power, problem solving. So they are showing problem solving. They're working in teams or building teams. They understand what new leadership is all about, a leadership that embraces other people and provides opportunity for other people also to lead. They are creatively, thinking about sustainability of the solution that they are coming up with. And so we as a Ashoka believe that we are at a point where we don't necessarily have to count on, or rather, just believe it's just going to take social entrepreneurs to solve all the world challenges. We believe that everyone really must master these skills of change making. And the best people to bring up the curve right now is the young generation. And so this partnership gives us that opportunity to continue what we've been doing as a Ashoka, working with schools, working with young people directly, working with universities, to ensure that every young person is acquiring these skills, because we are seeing and we are learning this from the social entrepreneurs in our network, that to succeed as a problem solver, to succeed in whatever endeavor you're going to take, whether it's on traditional enterprises or, as an employee, if you want to become a first-class employee, then you have to have these skills. So this program really does give us that opportunity, but also it gives us an opportunity to learn from other people, to learn from other experts who are, if I may say, the other side of this divide, which should not even be seen as a divide as such, but experts in the business sector. So in this program, we are looking at converging those two, the social entrepreneurs, and in this case, Ashoka Fellows, bringing all the lessons that we've learned from them, and also just having them share their real life experience. And we'll also be looking at those who are running, leading business executives, to bring in their insights also on the bolts and knives of running a venture successfully, to support these young people who are part of the EA chapter, and also broadly other young people who may be interested to join. So for me, what I would like to say is that we are seeing this as a moment of affirmation that, yes, indeed, what we started as a Ashoka, and the lessons, the insights that we have gleaned over the many years that we've been working with these social entrepreneurs is becoming real in the sense that more and more people are demanding for a new way of thinking, which for us is the change maker mindset. More and more people are demanding for quick problem solving. Like, we need to accelerate our ability to scale our innovations. And so having the opportunity as an organization to work with International Trade Center to bring this insight from our fellows and to bring other experts into this program, I think is something that is worthy to celebrate. And so, like I said, it's not going to be about Ashoka today. We want to hear from our panelists. We want to hear your insights. And also we want to hear from the rest of the audience, really. We want to have this as a collaborative and as a co-created session as possible. So I think I'll give it back to you, Brian, to continue. But thank you so much for joining. We really appreciate your time.
Thank you, Vincent, for framing, today's conversation. And as you've mentioned, today, as Ashoka celebrates 20 years in East Africa, and as we launch this youth entrepreneurship and change-making experience, it is an honor to have our partners, the International Trade Center, on board and supporting and working with us on this journey in empowering young people to become change makers in Kenya. And just to pick up from where you left off, Vincent, we have the Chief Administrative Secretary, Madam Maureen Bakker, from the Ministry of ICT, Innovation and Youth Affairs. Madam Maureen, the Ifra, who was, an Alliance Girls alumnus, is here with us, and she was supposed to be one of the, speakers. And she wanted to connect with you. So we're glad to have you on board. Please just share with us, today morning.
Thank you, Brian, and good morning. I have my keynote address, which I will now deliver. Distinguished guests, young entrepreneurs, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. Many thanks for the invitation, and it's a pleasure to join you all at this launch of the Ashoka Mentorship Experience on Youth Entrepreneurship and Changemaking for the Yei Community Kenya chapter, a project supported by the International Trade Center that aims to aid the Yei Community Kenya chapter members identify as change makers within their communities. Having the youth as change makers within society resonates with the programs of the government and indeed the Ministry of ICT, Innovation and Youth Affairs. I thank our hosts, Ashoka, for their determination to encourage young people to be active, innovative, creative, and socially responsible citizens. Ladies and gentlemen, today's generation of adolescents and youth stands at 1.8 billion people, the largest our world has ever seen. Most of these young people live in developing countries. In Kenya, 75% of the population is youth aged below 35. The energy, enthusiasm, and innovation of this large youth generation can bring a huge demographic dividend to our country and indeed to the world. But to get these dividends, one has to invest. And for the youth, that means investment in education, skills training, sexual and reproductive health services, availability of credit, among others, and in all the other services which widen opportunity. The government of Kenya is fully in recognition of the immense potential of its youth. In this regard, the government has invested in several programs geared towards empowering the youth, such as the Kenya Youth Employment Opportunities, that is KYOP, the Future Bora Initiative, the Access to Government Procurement Opportunities, the Youth Fund, as well as the Ajira Digital Program that I will elaborate on shortly. As a generation, the youth also face high levels of unemployment. While representing only 37% of the global working age population, young people make up 60% of the world's unemployed. In Kenya, 1 million young people enter the labor market every year. 80% of unemployed Kenyans are below 35 years old. The government programs set out above aim to tackle this unemployment challenge. Governments can help foster social entrepreneurship for the youth by developing structures and an environment that encourages partnerships between different sectors. Indeed, on the enabling policy front, the government, through the Ministry of ICT, Innovation and Youth Affairs, has put in place Kenya's national ICT policy, whose economic agenda includes fostering entrepreneurship, innovation, investment, and growth with a goal of sustainable development. Ladies and gentlemen, the government also actively participates in setting up social initiatives for sustainable development. The launch of the Ajira Digital Program, earlier mentioned, is a government program driven by the Ministry of ICT, geared towards enhancing youth employment in Kenya through online jobs. Ajira Digital offers free basic training and mentorship on how to make money online and to seize the opportunities in the gig economy. Ajira focuses on skills development, resource provision, and access to markets for social entrepreneurs. The government does recognize that social entrepreneurship is indeed a powerful vehicle for driving economic growth and recovery, and it is ready to work with partners to ensure our common goals towards social solutions are achieved. In closing, and as a young person myself, I encourage fellow youth to stand up, harness your potential, and be the change that you want to see in the society. I encourage you to be change makers within society. Thank you very much, and God bless.
Thank you, Madam CAS Maureen Barker. It's a pleasure just having you join us today And then just the other panelists, Madam Maureen Baka has been kind enough just to spare her morning with us. Unfortunately, she will have to jump off after she responds to her question later on in the panel session. But we do appreciate you for taking your time to be with us and for inspiring young people to be change makers. If you're sharing this on social media, you can quote her, and she says, young people should become change makers and identify as change makers. So allow me just to introduce our next speaker, Madam Ludmila Azo from the ITC. And I know I haven't done justice in your introduction as the country manager for ITC here in Kenya. So please allow me and forgive me for that short introduction. Please take the floor and just inspire the young entrepreneurs who've joined us today.
Thank you so much, Brian. Thank you. Dear esteemed guests, Madam Chief Administrative Secretary Maureen Baka, young entrepreneurs, and as the Chief Administrative Secretary likes to call you, change makers of Kenya. It's my pleasure to be here with you today and to represent the ITC, the International Trade Center. I am thrilled to be here for the launch of our youth trade programs CA chapter in Kenya and to jumpstart our activities for youth entrepreneurs in the country. I was particularly happy to hear what Madam Baka has later on as the government, the national plans for youth development. It pleases me that youth is a central part for government plans to develop the country. For those of you who are unfamiliar with the ITC, we are a multilateral agency with a joint mandate under the UN, the United Nations, and the World Trade Organization, the WTO. We support SMEs at the globe to access opportunities, and we support the growth of goods trade worldwide. This means that we enable SMEs, youth-led SMEs as well, because we push for an inclusive approach in emerging and transition economies to become more competitive and to connect to international markets for trade and investment purpose, thereby raising incomes and creating job opportunities, especially for women, young people, and poor communities. As I said, we support 10 SDGs and we focus on promoting inclusive and sustainable economic development. ITC's Youth and Trade Program is focused on supporting the creation of more youth-led SMEs and better youth-led SMEs. And how do we do this, you may ask yourself? We do this by ensuring that youth have access to market-ready skills, to commercially viable skills, to enhance employability and entrepreneurial potential. The long-term goal of this work is to reduce youth unemployment and support inclusive economic growth. We have heard the statistics and the figures that Madam has also presented to us. That could be quite alarming, but also a strong opportunity and potential to drive economic growth in Kenya. To achieve these goals, we operate a platform for young entrepreneurs, and that is what is called YE Community. YE simply stands for Young Entrepreneurs Community. The platform is free to use and provides access to a global network of youth, expert mentors, opportunities to seek funding and support, tools, resources, but also education. If you are not yet on this platform, you are missing out on many tremendous opportunities to enhance your entrepreneurial capacities and network. However, it is the offline communities that ITC's Youth and Trade Program supports. The YE chapters, where we are truly able to connect with youth. The YE chapters link the local with the global. For building these chapters, we work via multipliers like Ashoka that have their finger on the pulse and are offering concrete and practical resources to youth. By collaborating with local partners, we seek to enhance their work, enhance that a greater number of young entrepreneurs can tap into their support. We aim to strengthen their capacities and thereby ensuring that local entities are capable of nurturing today and young innovators and change makers, and we support them to create a peer network through YE chapter. We will never emphasize enough the power of connection, of mentorship, and to self-help. The YE chapters provide a place for engagement, connection, and learning. From our work with youth around the globe, We know that access to networks is critical to the success of young entrepreneurs. EA chapters aim to become your home base, your network, your go-to community that provides access to opportunities, network, and much more. Capacity, but also funding. We have heard about the lack of access to funding, to credit, and we know it's critical to develop businesses. When it comes to supporting youth entrepreneurs in Kenya to access markets, networks, finance, skills, we are thrilled to collaborating with such a reputable and respected organization like Ashoka. Before even the year chapter work, I was already aware of Ashoka because I worked in Nairobi in Kenya for 5 years, working on peace, security, and regional economic integration. So I heard about Ashoka, and I'm pleased to be associated that the ITC is associated with you to lead this initiative. Through our joint collaboration to build the Kenyan year chapter and support a local community, of young entrepreneurs, we are sure that we can break down some critical barriers to startup scaling, such as access to information, access to experts, both local and global, because there are many, many experts in Kenya and in the region, and access to opportunities for finance and development. In Kenya, we aim to break down silos and connect with key ecosystems players via the year chapter. We endeavor to work with a variety of partners, each of whom have a unique value added, to ensure young entrepreneurs have access to the range of support that they need to build and sustain an enterprise, a business. We aim to provide a space for dialogue and connection and learning. And most important of all, we aim to ensure that youth are the drivers, that you are the drivers of this engagement. ITC's Youth and Trade Development Program will put you at the forefront of its work for inclusive and sustainable development. The year chapters are youth-led and youth-focused, so you will be the drivers of this initiative. We would like to count on you. And by ensuring that you drive such engagement and are consulted with all along the way, we know that the outcomes will be those that you demanded, and that will drive sustainable long-term development. In Kenya, our representatives for the year chapter are Ifra Arab Mohammed, the founder of Supermom and an Echoing Green finalist, and Leroy Mwasaru, the founder of Green Pact and a Forbes 30 under 30 entrepreneur. These youth are building the world they want to see. You can be a part of this community by joining the ITC's year chapter. The time is now to support youth entrepreneurship as youth continue to be hit hard by the economic shock of COVID-19. No doubt it will affect the economy for years to come, and thus the opportunities available to youth. I urge you, I echo Madam CIS voice to urge you to join the Kenya chapter and be part of a community of young entrepreneurs supporting one another to succeed and grow and persevere beyond this pandemic. These crises are there to stay. Even after the COVID, it may be another one. So let's build strong networks. Let's strive for development, for growth. Thank you for your attention, and I'm very much looking forward to a great event and seeing what we can achieve together in Kenya. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Madam Ludmila Azo, and that was, building on what the CAS has just shared with us. If I can take back the participants to what the CAS shared and then tie it to what you just shared. The CAS finished by saying, stand up, harness your potential, and be a change maker. And Madam Ludmila Azo, you're talking about, the youth entrepreneurship network, being able to break down silos, for us to drop our logos and our egos to begin to work together to create an enabling environment for young people to come up with ventures and innovations that address challenges within their community. So thank you for that, for your welcome opening remarks, Madam Ludmila Azo. It is a pleasure to have you today morning. So participants and panelists, allow me then to introduce our next presenter and speaker. That is my colleague Ruth Soi, who is going to be sharing with us more about the Ashoka mentorship experience. Ruth, please take it over.
Thanks, Brian, and good morning, everyone. It's such a great pleasure to be here and to be among all of you. So my name is Ruth, so I lead the Ashoka East Africa Fellowship Engagement, And I'm also coordinating the visionary program as well as the Ashoka mentorship experience. So Brian, I don't know if we can use the presentation.
Hi, Zoe, it's already on.
Okay, though I can't see it, I'm seeing my face. Okay, so while we wait for that, I can just go on. So the idea behind the Ashoka mentorship experience is basically a program that's been designed to create a space for reflection, for connection, and a deeper understanding of one's roles, one's responsibilities, and accelerating solutions towards the most pressing needs. So through the mentorship, one is able to experience change making firsthand from carefully selected Ashoka fellows. So you're able to really learn from them, how they're doing what they're doing, which also understanding how to effect systems change, working around the Everyone a Change Maker framework. So you not only learn the bolts and nuts of running your venture, but you also build resilient and effective leadership, and you get to have a really deep understanding of change making and of systems change. So the process, we have a 5 to 6 process for the Ashoka mentorship experience, which is something we have been running with some other partners. And what that compromises of is, first of all, a one-on-one mentorship. The one-on-one mentorship is a connection between the mentee and an Ashoka fellow. And this is to create a deep connection between the individuals where the fellows can share insights on the work that they've done and help the individual understand how they can then solve challenges that they may be facing, and also just identifying some of the challenges that are in their community. And while at the same time, they also gain a good, rich, deep understanding of systems change. The second is a group mentorship, where it's a connection between the mentee and an expert in a specific identified thematic area. This is usually a group session that takes place either weekly or bi-weekly. And how we identify the needs or the areas of gap is through a needs assessment that's done before the mentorship. Why we do this is so that we can have a mentorship experience that really targets the individual's needs and areas of gap, so that we can confidently say that they will leave the mentorship with some of those or most of those areas addressed. We also have a virtual enterprise challenge, which is a roundtable that takes place during the mentorship. And what this does is we have created it to be a practical space, a space where the experts share skills, experts share know how to practical experiences on solving individuals' problems. And prior to the roundtables, we gather the challenges that the individuals could be going through. Then we speak about it during the roundtable, also having an opportunity for the participants to ask questions and solve problems that they're facing. We also do convenings. Because of COVID, it's not in person, so it's normally online, and it's an opportunity to connect further with the ecosystem, partners in the project networks in Ashoka, and also with the partners. And it's a really great opportunity to provide thought partnership across a range of needs. And last but not least is the co-creative feedback loop. We like to keep the information in a loop. So it's basically just made up of captured learnings, roundtable notes, mentorship feedback, convening notes. And this is information that is given to the mentees, something that they can go back to, the conversations that they've had with the mentors, the networks that they've gotten access to, the recordings of the sessions, just so that they can reflect back on some of the things that they've learned throughout the mentorship. So why Ashoka mentorship experience? Well, first of all, you get to connect with such a rich network of experts and leading social entrepreneurs. And through that connection, you're also able to connect further with the network. Once you've connected with them and they can see that there's an area where they have someone else who can help you address it, it's a really great opportunity to really build your network. And get more expertise and connecting more with other people. You get to learn firsthand from the experts and leading social entrepreneurs. We create a space where you are free to ask any questions, and the mentors are there for you to help you through the challenges that you're experiencing, to help you see things that you're not seeing, to help you learn from their stories. You get to also learn about systems change and change making firsthand through the connections that you have with their Ashoka Fellows. You gain a deeper understanding of your own roles and your own responsibilities. And during that process, you get to build resilient and effective leadership. You also gain very practical experiences in the mentorship, in the roundtables, in the convenings. These are tools and skills that help you solve your own challenges. So how are we doing this in year? So from January to March is the Dream It. And this is the personal purpose, collective impact, the product and service development. So they're going to be group mentorship sessions where experts have been identified to help deliver on these sessions. So you will be connecting with experts in these thematic areas, with an opportunity to engage with fellows prior to that, learning from their experiences when it comes to personal purpose, when it comes to collective impact, when it comes to product or service development. There's also an opportunity to connect one-on-one with the mentors after the group sessions, in case, just getting a personal understanding of that thematic area. And basically this structure will be implemented throughout all the other sessions. So that will be the Do It, which is the next one. And Do It is made up of systems change, impact measurement, financial sustainability. Then there is the Grow It, which is on well-being, storytelling for change, business canvas modeling. And lastly, Celebrate It, which is on launch and scale, investor readiness. And after all the group sessions and the one-on-one mentorship, there will also be an ecosystem meetup event, which is a convening, an opportunity to connect further with the ecosystem, an opportunity to connect further with the partners in the project. And basically the aim of that is to support the participant or support the mentees and provide a thought partnership across a range of needs. And lastly, is the co-creative feedback loop. So throughout the mentorship, we'll be capturing learnings, roundtable notes, mentors feedback, convening notes for reflection purposes, which is made available to those who go through the Ashoka mentorship experience. And that's it. I'm happy to answer any questions after this. Yes, thank you so much. Brian, back to you.
Thank you, Ruth, for just taking us through that elaborate journey, the Ashoka mentorship experience that the social innovators across Kenya have benefited from. And now we are connecting with the youth entrepreneurs in partnership with the International Trade Center. I just want to bring back Vincent to crown this, but maybe later on in the conversation. So at this particular juncture, I just want to transition us to the panel discussion. And again, I want to invite our panelists. I can see most of your videos are off. I just want to invite you just to turn on your videos as we engage in this panel session. I shared a couple of questions with you, and I just want our audience and participants also to just get to learn from this session as well. Participants, remember, you can join in on the conversation. Just drop us a chat in the chat box. We are vigilant. We are watching that space, and we'll direct your question if you share it with us to the right panelist. And also remember to connect on social media using hashtag #Changemakers. You can tag Ashoka at Ashoka Africa, the International Trade Center at the International Trade Center, and the YE community at YE community. So I want to pose a challenge to my panelists, because we are yet to meet all the panelists that we have here today with us. I just want you to use one adjective to introduce yourself. You have, a good background, a very, we have, experts from different walks of life, and the wealth of information and experience that we have today is really broad. And I felt that it's going to be unfair for me to introduce you and not touch on some of those aspects. So please, just within 1 minute, I'm just going to give you 1 minute to introduce yourself, and I'm going to start with Madam CAS, the Chief Administrative Secretary, Madam Maureen Bakker, and then maybe bring back Madam Ludmila Azo. I know she's not part of the panel, but I just want you to use one adjective that best describes you, and then I will just invite the other panelists. So please, Madam Chief Administrative Secretary, Madam Maureen Bakker, please. One adjective that best describes you.
My Brian, that is a very tough challenge you put to me. I mean, let me look at the context and say that I'm youth. Is that an adjective?
Thank you so much, Madam CAS Maureen Bakker. And I just want to pass it over to Ludmila Azo. Madam Ludmila Azo, please.
Brian, Madam CIS just stole my adjective. How do I do this? I will say assertive.
Assertive. Thank you. Thank you, Madam Ludmila Azo. I know you weren't prepared for this and to be part of the panel session, so thank you for just participating in this little game of ours. And now I want to invite the rest of our speakers. So in no particular order, I'm just going to follow the screen. Jonathan, Ashoka Fellow Jonathan Mativo, please introduce yourself briefly.
Great. So thank you very much for this wonderful session where we are interacting with young entrepreneurs in Kenya and from across the world. I think an adjective that would define me would be passionate. And I'm sure I'll be talking later, but I'm the founder of High ICT for Development Kenya, a social enterprise that trains youth in rural areas on IT skills with one objective of creating jobs for them.
Thank you, Jonathan. Jonathan Mativo is an Ashoka Fellow, and I'm sure he's going to be speaking, touching on this later on. I just want to invite Claire. Claire, please introduce yourself to our guests today.
Yes, hello everyone. So happy to be here. As Brian mentioned, my name is Claire Sterngold, and I work at the International Trade Center as part of the Youth and Trade Program. I'm the manager of the YEA Global Community. And if I had to choose one word to describe me, because I like this challenge, I would go with inquisitive. So looking forward to this discussion, and thanks, Brian, for hosting.
I'm taking notes of these words that our panelists are sharing, and then I will actually try and see if it's true that what they're telling us is actually a true representation of themselves. So I want to just proceed to another guest of ours, Mr. Danny Muchira, who is the Regional Director at Trace TV. Please introduce yourself.
Thanks, Brian. My name is Danny Muchira. I'm the Managing Director for Trace in East Africa. So pleasure to join this panel today for the sharing, the lessons. I mean, I think and I strongly believe that the youth represent the future for not only this continent, but the rest of the world. If I was to look at an adjective that describes myself, I'd probably go with agile.
Thank you, Danny. Thank you, Danny. Agile. That's what Danny says. And then we're going to go to Emma Gleason, one of our newest expert. And then please just introduce yourself.
Thanks, Brian, and hello to everybody and the other panelists. I think the adjective that would best describe me is probably risk-taking. Most recently, within the last year, I made the decision to come to Kenya to set up my own nonprofit in innovative education after coming off the back of 3 years with Think Global School, which is a traveling boarding school, and developing a curriculum in project-based learning, and to implement that here in Kenya first, and then basically across the continent. So yeah, risk-taking, facing many challenges, overcoming many challenges, but it's been a great journey. So thank you for having me here today. I should have mentioned as well that this new nonprofit is called FEI Africa, FEI Africa, and we're hoping to do great work across the continent very soon. Thank you.
Thank you, Emma, for sharing your morning. I want to bring Vincent. I had mentioned I'm going to bring him back into the conversation, and we had planned to have Irungu Nyakera in this panel. Unfortunately, he just got held up in another function, and so I'll just bring in Vincent. And Vincent, I will also ask you to introduce yourself in the same manner.
Thank you, Brian. So it's an adjective. I think Danny already took my description, or rather, we probably, like Brian, you said, you will need to find out if all this is true. But agile is what I go for as well. Thank you, Brian.
So thank you, Vincent. Thank you, Vincent. And just to crown it all, so this is last but not least, is Father Charles Chilufya. Please, let me just welcome you, since you'll be crowning the conversation later on. Please introduce yourself before we proceed with the panel.
Thank you very much, Brian. Yes, as you rightly put it, my name is Father Charles Chilufya, and I am a Jesuit, and I also work for the Jesuit Conference of Africa and Madagascar as the director of the Justice and Ecology Office. And yeah, I'm passionate, but that has already been mentioned, about change. So something related to that I would use as an adjective is change making. Change making. Yeah. Thank you.
I like that. And I like that you were the last panelist and you say change making. And that could be a keyword for today. We are all change makers. And I hope that all the participants who are here with us today will also identify as change makers. So allow me just to transition now to the panel and to ask Madam CAS just my first question. And this is pertaining what you had mentioned earlier on in your speech, the Ajira program. And so my question to you is this: the Kenyan government is prioritizing youth in its programs, especially relating to the Ajira project. Are there any tangible results you could share with us so far? Any positive changes you have seen?
Thank you, Brian. Just to go back to the Ajira program and what exactly it is, it's a government initiative driven by the Ministry of ICT that seeks to have young people to earn from digital and digitally enabled job opportunities. So it's one of the various programs that are in place to tackle the issue of unemployment that I highlighted in my keynote address. So there are various other programs. This specific one aims to harness the opportunities that are presented by the gig economy. So we have various opportunities arising, such as transcription work. These are all available on platforms, such as Upwork. So the gig economy, basically. So transcription work, translation, digital marketing. So all these opportunities are online, and this program seeks to create a bridge to connect young people with these opportunities. And just to highlight how the program does this is that we provide training and mentorship opportunities under the program. Of course, during COVID, we're doing this online. So we we provide Zoom classes on really the gig economy, on the various aspects of the gig economy. And the mentorship aspect actually connects those who have registered for our Jira program to these opportunities. You know, the mentor actually holds your hand and shows you how to create a profile and how to start earning online. Other than that, we do have our infrastructure that is set up across the country in various counties. These are the Ajira Youth Empowerment Centers, which are actually physical structures that we've installed devices and internet at the county level so that young people can access these centers and be able to actually work online with using our devices. Other than that, we do also work with partners, various partners in both the public and private sector to create awareness on, you know, the availability of online workers and, you know, to have them create or have their online, their work needs online so that we can connect our online workers with actual job opportunities. So that's in a snapshot is what the Ajira program is. When it comes to your question, which is the results that we are seeing, as an ecosystem enabler, the government measures, the government through the ministry, we measure the impact on of the program through looking at awareness, what awareness has been created, as well as other direct and indirect benefits. On the awareness area, we do carry out surveys, and the survey we carried out in 2019 showed that at least 600,000 young people were working online. They were aware of the program, of the opportunities, and were working online. And 2 million were aware of the Ajira program. When it came to 2020, our survey showed that 670,000 were now working online, and 2.6 million were aware that you know, of the Ajira program. So we do keep monitoring our the awareness that is being created by the program, by the government of these opportunities, and then we'll keep on monitoring the space. Other than that, we do have also our own trainees, the people who have signed up on our platform, which is ajiradigital.go.ke. We do have them coming back and giving us their success stories. You know, maybe you could be a teacher working somewhere in the country and you are supplementing your income with online work. And we have people coming back and saying, I used to make this much, now I'm making twice as much because I got some skills from the Ajira training and I'm actually providing services online to someone in another part of the world. So we do get a lot of good you know, stories coming back, which is really the impact that we are looking to make. I think that would answer your question. Because I have to step out, unfortunately, I'll have to just give a closing snapshot, if you allow me, Brian. One is that I'm glad to see my fellow alum of Alliance Girls, as you pointed out. That was Miss Ifra, and she's actually a leader in this great initiative. So I'm glad to see that. Other than that, Brian, I am aware that there'll be questions sent, and I'm glad if you could collect them and have them delivered to my office, because I would like to create more awareness on the Ajira program. Other than that, I'd like to tell my fellow panelists, it was a pleasure meeting you. To all the attendees, it was a pleasure being here with you this morning. And I wish the partnership between Ashoka and the Ye community the very best. And again, to all the young people, remember to make an impact and be change makers within your community. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam CAS, for your morning and just for addressing the question sufficiently. It has been lovely just engaging with the Ministry of ICT, Innovation and Youth Affairs in the various projects that we have, and we look forward to building this further. Panelists, kindly allow the CAS just to step out of this panel discussion and we can engage with her further. If any of the participants has a question, feel free to ask it, and then we will share it with the ministry and the CAS for her response. Thank you so much for your response to our question. I'd like I'd like to ask my next question to Ashoka fellow Jonathan Mativo. As an Ashoka Fellow and being familiar with Ashoka's journey, Ashoka spent 40 years supporting leading social entrepreneurs and currently has a network of over 4,000 social entrepreneurs globally who use tools of innovation and entrepreneurship to fix broken social and environmental systems. So I'd just like to know from this experience, what lessons and insights as an Ashoka Fellow can you share with the young entrepreneurs who are with us today?
Great, thank you very much. And again, I'm excited to be a part of this and also to be talking to young entrepreneurs. And I want to start by saying, yes, I'm an Ashoka Fellow, but the journey does not start with Ashoka. Actually, the journey starts with this change maker. I thought I would approach this in 3 ways. One, describing who I am as an entrepreneur, some of the tools that I've found quite helpful along the journey, and also some of the different avenues for growth for young entrepreneurs. And so I want to start by saying that being an entrepreneur is basically being a businessman. But this is a businessman who is driven by an idea. This is a businessman who is being driven by a dream of changing the world. And that is why today we are talking of being change makers. So this is someone who wants to make the world to be a better place. Now, for you to achieve that, then it means that there is a problem that you've seen that you would want to create a solution for. And that is why we call ourselves social entrepreneurs, because we're looking at common problems that are affecting our people in our society. And these are the societies that we live in. And we want to come up with a solution as change makers. And as entrepreneurs, such solutions would actually disrupt the status quo, which is unlike business. In business, where a businessman would come to support a process. But in entrepreneurship, you find what is happening and you want to disrupt that status quo. And initially, the duty bearers are usually uncomfortable with it. So for the young entrepreneurs that we have here, that is a common starting point, that yes, as you get out there, as you have this wonderful dream that you have to change the world, then initially people might be uncomfortable with it, but eventually it brings what we call a system change, because people would ideally start trusting in your idea, in your solution, and then of course they will get to want to engage or plug it into different policies and system changes that are available. Again, I think it's also important for us to say, because currently in the world, and Kenya is not an exception, currently the biggest problem that we have is youth unemployment. So every youth that leaves school wants to be employed. And I know it's a big discussion, but I feel that entrepreneurship is not an alternative to self-employment. So, because self-employment, it has its own standards. Entrepreneurship, remember, there is a goal, there is a problem that we're looking at solving. So I want to encourage the young people or the young entrepreneurs that are here, that have those, their dreams, the idea might be that small. And I'm giving from my own experience, 10 years ago, I left my employment and I'm a computer scientist. I felt that people in my village would otherwise never have an opportunity to interact with computers. I could only afford 4 computers. And so I went back to the community, and with only 4 computers, I kept on asking myself, how could I reach out to many young people? And my system change, my goal was to change or to create employable skills in young people by training them on computer skills or IT skills. A very small idea. However, once you have equip yourself with this idea, and being a dream, you being pushed by the passion to see this thing come to work. However, there are a number of tools that you need to have. In fact, a dream or this great passion that we have as young entrepreneurs is, oh, we want to go out there and change the world. But it's still a dream. We have it with ourselves, but we need to translate that into a document that we call the business plan. And I'm sure many young entrepreneurs, when they start hearing of these words, they're like, oh, these are big words. I remember sometimes in 2013, I went for a business plan competition, and the first thing that I was being asked was, do you have a business plan? I had never heard of a business plan. However, I had an idea. I had something that I was doing. So, and the beauty of it is that with time, there are quite a number of templates that are available free of charge on the internet for you to help you develop such documents like a business plan. And the beauty of a business plan, it starts now helping you to start thinking about, how do I structure my business idea? Because of course you can have an idea, but it's another thing to translate it to become a business idea. There are also tools that you develop from that, and they are also available online, like something we call the business canvas. These are visual document or a visual template that will help you now start seeing your business from, I would say, in one page. So it easily starts helping you to start thinking, yes, as I implement my idea, how do I make sure that I'm reaching out to the right customers? I have the key resources. What is the structure of the pricing that I'm going to do? And something very important is a business canvas would help you to understand whether whatever you are doing adds value to the people that you want to reach out to. And of importance, as you equip yourself with these tools, I think it's also important for you to note that at the end of the day, yes, you're doing such a wonderful job out there. You want to change the world, but one question that will be asked by so many people want to fund your business or to help you to scale up is, one, how do you sustain your business activities? So, and I always tell people that, yes, a good social enterprise should be able to generate revenue. And please mark my word, it's revenue, not profit. So if you can generate some revenue, you'll be able to sustain your venture. Because I would tell you that as you're starting your enterprise, you won't be guided, or you will not be driven by profits or by making money, but you'll be driven by creating this social change or the change that you want to see in your community. So within the journey, and I'm still talking about the tools that you need to equip yourself, within the journey, it's something we call storytelling. You have to now start telling stories of what you're doing and what you want to do. And so, and I want to thank Ashoka for this, because Ashoka is very strong at helping you as a young entrepreneur to become a storyteller in such a way that you can tell your story in a compelling way. And that's why one of the tools that you might find quite helpful is having a PowerPoint presentation for now. And this is what many people would call a pitch deck and all that. But it's a deck, or it's a presentation that will now be available for you. You can easily go out there and share with others on what you're doing. But of importance, I always tell people that every time is pitching time, or every time is presentation time. So I always give young people this example, that you meet the President of Kenya, His Excellency Uhuru Kenyatta, is walking from the podium towards his car, and he gives you 1 minute to talk to him. What would you tell him? So it's good as you continue doing your change-making activity to start equipping yourself with the words or a short story that will tell your business in a nutshell. And that's ideally in the entrepreneurship space, they call it the elevator pitch, which is usually 1 minute or 3 minutes. Lastly, from my journey and the journey that I've seen with many other young entrepreneurs is now you've set up your enterprise and you want to look at growing your enterprise. And there are so many opportunities that I've realized or that I've come across from within my journey. And one, I would say it's important to equip yourself with skills. Build your capacity, and Ashoka is very good at building the capacity. But before you become an Ashoka fellow or any other fellow, it's important for you to learn business. There are free tools that are available. Like I'll give an example of Acumen Plus, which gives the tools like the Lean Startup, the Human-Centered Design, which will help you structure your business in a way that it will look more sustainable. You'll realize the type of system change that you want to create. The other one is to apply for accelerator programs. There are quite a number of them that are available in the space today. So I would say that as a young entrepreneur, look for opportunities that are available. And the beauty of accelerator programs is that they bring you in and they equip you with a lot of info, especially on how to run your own social enterprise. And I've seen many young people who go for these accelerator programs and they fear sharing their idea. I think it's good. Share it out there with other people. Lastly, I think, please, just a minute. I think it's important as part of your storytelling to keep on telling your story. And we have platforms that are available, the social media spaces and all that. And these are the spaces where organizations like Ashoka would actually come and meet you and see your stories, your change-making stories, and connect you with networks, with experts, and help you to become a leader in your business venture. Thank you.
Thank you, Jonathan. And I actually can see our participants engaging with us on the chat. And we have actually a question for you, which I'm going to ask as a follow-up later on. Allow me just to bring in Claire from ITC, who's managing the YEA community. And Claire, this is my question for you. Since what has the International Trade Center as a UN agency has learned from the YEA community as an important network and resource for youth entrepreneurship? And I will follow that up with with another question, but kindly please just briefly respond to that first part of my question.
Sure, thanks, Brian. So hard act to follow, Jonathan, such an inspirational speaker. What have we learned at ITC from the YEA community and specifically the YEA local chapters is that it's critical to connect the local with the global. We call this the glocal approach. It's a bit of a funny name, but the YEA community has taught us that young entrepreneurs both need access to international mentors who can provide them with information on doing business outside of their country. Regionally, especially, we have experts at ITC who specialize in providing SMEs with information on how to navigate the AFCFTA. But it's also critical to provide that local network and that local insight that's really tailor-made to their needs. And that's why we work with partners like Ashoka, who are actually on the ground and are more connected with youth entrepreneurs. So we see that it's really critical to have this exchange between the local and the global. And indeed, that's as well why we have these YEA ambassadors. Ludmila mentioned we're working with Leroy Masaru and Ifra, who's here today, because they're the youth who are actually experiencing the challenges on the ground. And by working with them, again, as Ludmila mentioned in her opening remarks, we're actually putting young people in the driver's seat of making change. So it's not that ITC is coming into the picture and saying, this is what you need to do. It's actually that we're consulting with Ifra and with Leroy and saying, what is it that you guys are experiencing? What are the critical barriers and challenges that you're coming up against? Then we're going to the community and saying, do you guys feel the same? Is this exactly what you guys are experiencing in the field when you go into doing business? Are you coming up against, bureaucratic challenges? Are you struggling to find access to information? Is it that the information is there, but you don't know how to put it into practice? And then we're shaping our work and our programs around that knowledge that we're receiving directly from the youth entrepreneurs themselves. And then again, connecting it at the national level and at the global level. We're working with the government, as you heard from Madame Maureen, and we're connecting with them to actually see what we can do at a national level with the government to create change based on what the information these young entrepreneurs are sharing with us. And then again, at the global level on the Yay community, we're working with experts at ITC to provide training, to provide e-learning courses, to provide access to finance, which replicates what we've heard in various locations around the world. So again, I want to reiterate, that the Yay community, as the name says, is a young entrepreneurs community, and our engagements, our actions are driven by what we hear from you guys on the ground.
Thank you for that. And actually, you've answered my follow-up question, because I wanted to find out how does ITC, the International Trade Center, enhance their support for these young entrepreneurs. And I think you've answered it, but maybe if you've left out something, do you care to just elaborate further?
Sure. So the second part that I'd like to stress is that we work via multipliers, which we see Ashoka being a multiplier in Kenya to expand how far our strategy and our engagement can go. But we also see that through a number of surveys that we've done and through our conversations with youth, that they have a lot of trust in organizations like Ashoka, and like with incubators and hubs on the ground, that they see those entities as being the ones who are best meeting their needs. So ITC, through the Youth and Trade program, also works to strengthen the capacities of these hubs to better provide services to young entrepreneurs. And this is where it's really important that we have this kind of ecosystem approach. I know Jonathan and Brian, you guys have all mentioned the systems change approach. So it's important that we work not just directly to support youth entrepreneurs, but also to enable the organizations around them that they turn to for support to be more performant and better able to meet the needs. So we work with hubs and incubators, not just in Kenya, but around the continent and around the world, to see what are their struggles, what are their issues, how can we make them ensure that the programs that they're offering are actually meeting the needs of young entrepreneurs. So this is why it's important to have this direct connection with the young entrepreneurs to hear what they need, and also this direct connection with the hubs and with the, we call them BSOs, to say, what are you guys providing? What do you need? And make sure that that is connected. So yeah, we also tackle this side of the challenge. And this is why we're partnering with you guys, because we see that the work you're doing is really exceptional. And we want to basically take it to the next level. How can we work with Ashoka to make sure that these mentorship programs, that these change-making programs are really reaching every possible young entrepreneur that they can, and that those young entrepreneurs are connected via one community, which is the Yay chapter in Kenya. So, yeah.
Thank you so much for just providing that broad, and then you bring it now, that diamond approach, broad, and then you bring it closer home, and then the global approach. That's an interesting phrase to use. For our participants who are joining us today, this is the Youth Entrepreneurship and Change-Making launch, and we have a very interesting panel here with us. If you've missed it, just remember to share on social media using hashtag #YayChangeMakers. And Claire is just from sharing with us, her view and approach on how the International Trade Center is supporting the enablers of youth entrepreneurship and the young people, working directly with the young people and co-leading with the young people in implementing solutions. I want to bring Vincent into this conversation, and just to tie to what you've said and what Jonathan, Ashoka Fellow Jonathan Mativo said, Vincent, what does a change maker journey look like, and why is it important for youth entrepreneurs?
Thank you. Thank you, Brian. I think so far, this is a very interesting conversation. And like I said in the beginning, the approach was really to co-create this. I mean, there's a lot of insight that is coming from what Jonathan has said, what Claire said, and what the early speakers also said. I mean, Madam CS hit on some of this. But there's something that is coming out of this up to this point, Brian, which I think answers to that question. And this is where, usually when you're getting into a partnership, you want to understand where is the alignment, right? And so with Claire and the team, and I mean, whenever we were, having our discussions, you could always feel there is that alignment, there's that vision alignment, right? So they'll be talking about entrepreneurship, but then there is that understanding, which I think is very key for all of us who are here to know this. There is an epicenter for this. I mean, if you're going to be an entrepreneur and then a successful entrepreneur, from what we are seeing, one, what we are learning from the Ashoka Fellows, these leading social entrepreneurs, what we are learning from other, companies, other corporates, people like Danny, who represent a totally different sector, or even Father Charlie, what we are learning from them is that there has to be a certain mindset, right? So you're not going to drive systems change or understand ecosystemic approach, which Claire, you talked about, if it doesn't start from your mindset. And so that's the reason why you hear us talking about change making a lot, right? So Brian, to your question, change maker journey, I mean, it starts from the mindset, getting to understand from your mindset, aligning your mindset. You cannot be a successful entrepreneur if you're not empathetic. I mean, we see a lot of challenges that social entrepreneurs or other people are trying to address. Not all, but quite a number of them are coming from a traditional way of doing things. When you talk about broken systems, it's because of a traditional way of doing things. And until you're empathetic enough to see these systems that are broken and move beyond just thinking about it for yourself, so that then if you're starting a venture, you're not just thinking this venture for, I just want to make profit, or I just want to align with what is big right now, but you are deliberately thinking of what the challenge is all about, what you want to address. So you have to be empathetic. You have to understand how to work with cross-sectoral teams. The world has changed right now. I mean, I love the logo approach that ITC has, because it's connecting local global. So you have to have that mindset. You have to be inclined towards working with other people, not just within a function that you are familiar with, even if it's within an organization, not just within a particular function or a particular department across. So, teamwork, thinking collaboration has to be part and parcel of that journey. You also have to think about the way you are solving that challenge, the way you're running enterprise in a creative way. So this is what we talk about when we say creative problem solving. There has to be an entrepreneurial thinking applied to it, not just from a theoretical point of view, but practically. What is it? If someone gets to see what you're doing, are they able to pick the innovation, the innovative thinking, the entrepreneurial thinking, and apply? And also, of course, we've been talking about new leadership, this sense of leadership that's not only like for the young people. We are not only serving young people, we have to champion young people. We have to actively move barriers for young people, and also the same thing for anyone around you. You have to appreciate, and you have to get into that space where, leadership now is not just for a select few. I mean, leadership used to be reserved because of access to information or knowledge, but now that is all of us. So you just have to appreciate that. Then the second thing is, of course, system change. And I think this is what Claire, you referred to. How do you then integrate this new thinking into our institutions? How do we integrate, the change-making ability into our institutions, into the way we run our programs? And already from ITC and the year chapter, I think this is very clear. We cannot be initiating or developing programs for young people and we don't involve them. So I think from a very strategic point of view, I think ITC is already doing this, institutionalizing what we talk about in terms of change making, or even thinking systems change. If you're an entrepreneur, how do you run this venture in a way that is going to, cause systemic change, become a norm? If it's increasing access to goods or services basically changing market dynamics? Is it something that is going to change the mindset of people around something to the better, from negative to better, you name it. Then the third one, Brian, still on this journey. So the mindset, the systems change thing, also mindset and approach. The third one, again, Claire, you've articulated this really well. It's the ecosystemic approach. And so here, what we are really keen on, and this is what the Ashoka mentoring experience does, and Ashoka as an organization is really big on this, is looking at this ecosystem broadly. So we want to drive this collaboration, not just within the social impact sector or just within the entrepreneurship sector. We are thinking beyond. How do we rope in other players that have a role to play? Let's say, for instance, university education. Is there a place for them? How do we connect with them? We want to get to a point where the innovations, the enterprises that are being churned out are evidence-based, and we can count on the universities or higher learning, generally, to provide those insights from research. We want to get other corporates, like say Trace. How do we, work with, Trace TV to amplify what these young people are doing, or even find those, innovate around the spaces that they're already providing for young people to accelerate impact of, engaging young people. We want to get, and I know Father Charles will talk about this at the, towards the end also. How do we rope in those who will be seen to be unlikely allies into this conversation, the religious groupings and such like. So for me, that is what the journey looks like, Brian. Start from the individual, the mindset, looking at what is it that we want to achieve, what is it that you want to achieve, what is this enterprise geared towards, system change, and who else do I need in this space, and not just thinking that very small space, thinking broadly. Who are the likely allies and unlikely allies that you bring into the movement. And I think this is panning out really well from what ITC and the chapter is doing. Thank you, Brian.
Thank you, Vincent, for just framing this and just drawing that picture and connecting the dots. And I don't know if I'd call Danny an unlikely ally, but I would like to bring Danny into the conversation, and Emma. And I also see Irungu Nyakera has joined us, so I will bring him into this conversation today. So Danny, I have a question for you. And Vincent has touched on this, talking about change maker companies. And Trace is one of these companies which has an appeal towards young people. And my question for you is, you lead a company that offers a project, that connects with young people. How can companies like Trace use their platform and appeal to inspire and encourage youth entrepreneurship?
Okay, thanks, Brian. So, I think that's an interesting question. For Trace, our journey began 17 years ago, and it began as a simple journey, just like today, someone's journey in entrepreneurship will begin. And at that point in time, the objective was really to create a platform that connects Afro-urban culture across Africans, whether in Africa or in the diaspora. And that was the simple premise upon which Trace began in some place in some garage 17 years ago. So I think today, for those listening, I think it's imperative to just be aware that your journey for change starts with a single step. Don't belittle the step you're about to take, and just commit to the same and go out and do it. We started with one channel. Today we run around 35 channels across the world. We reach about 300 million people. Most of them youth between 18 and 35. And that's really where our journey is and where it began. And today, what we are then saying is, if we are reaching all these youth people, what's pertinent to them at this point in time? And for us, we've then progressed from just a for-profit organization to a for-purpose organization, where we empower, or where we seek to drive the agenda that talks to empowerment in the youth, that drives profit, drives purpose, and is around people. And that's really what, for us, begins to create or set the agenda in terms of how we run in the company. So if we look at some initiatives we are doing, and in terms of what, because then we say, if we speak to 300 million audiences and a majority being the youth across the world, what's their pertinent issue? And their pertinent issue today is really around how do they become empowered so that they can make contribution to society in a meaningful manner. And for us, our area of expertise really is what we've pinpointed as our area of expertise is really around the creative arts. So what we've done is build platforms, notably something called Trace Academia, an online learning platform that says we recognize a lot of the learning in formal institutions is just that, formal, and two, may not be relevant for the creative sector. So we've actually brought together a portal, it's online and we run it on various platforms, web-based apps, both iOS and Android, that talks to online learning for the youth on courses of vocational training that is pertinent to the creative sector. So we'll teach you things like how to be a DJ, how to run an establishment, whether it's a restaurant or a pub, how to be a publisher, how to write music, how to be involved in that whole entertainment sector. And these are the things that we're passionate about. And we do it in a way that is a bit different. So there's a lot of edutainment, there's a gaming aspect to it. You get certification, but at the end of it all, we then equip you with skills that, one, enable you to be an entrepreneur, but two, also are able to link you up with potential areas that can fund your business. And so for us, when we look at this, the plan is then to scale that across Africa. So we did our minimum viable product in December. We're looking to launch our alpha module in the month of March across the entire Africa. We've got a lot of guys supporting this, the AU, we've got corporates that are actually behind it. So it's something that we're passionate about, and it's something that we believe creates a platform that empowers the youth to be able to actually make meaningful contributions to society. So increasingly, I see corporates not just focusing, there's actually a convergence increasingly around for-profit and non-profit organizations. And that's the one interesting thing I like around Ashoka and what it is that is happening right now, where we're saying from a corporate perspective, it's not enough to just continue operating in an environment that is isolated, that pursues an agenda just around profit. But we're also saying, what do we do around the community around us? And that's critically important. So you look at most organizations now, increasingly you're reporting not just on profit dimensions, but non-profit dimensions. And that's increasingly important and relevant in the society that you operate in. You can't afford to just operate in an environment where you're not cognizant of the challenges that are being faced by communities around you, most of which tend to be our consumers as well. So it's for companies to then, Brian, just to zoom back into your initial questions, to one, identify communities they're operating in, challenges that are being faced by those communities, and develop models that can be scalable. Because increasingly, and I tell guys, the day and age where the world is such a small place. I think if you're developing anything, it needs to have, you could start small, but it needs to have a scalable possibility to it. How do you grow it beyond Kenya? How do you get to people in Uganda, Tanzania, the region, and the wider East African and African community as a whole? Because ultimately, the challenges that we face here as youth are the same challenges being faced elsewhere. So you can't afford to develop solutions that are not scalable. And that's how you then come to all the things that the previous speakers were alluding to, Vincent and Jonathan. Just how do you build models that are scalable? So if you're doing a business canvas, the various aspects to it, when you think medium to long term, how is your idea scalable and how can it solve problems in other places across the continent, as opposed to just your singular village? And I think you have to start somewhere, but I think in your mind, you need to have that vision to say, when this grows, how do we scale it? How do we turn it into something else? So let me stop there. I think if there are any questions, we can then pick it up from there. Thanks.
Thank you, Danny. And there is quite a number of insights that I've been able to get from what you've shared. And if I could just quote one of the things, we cannot operate in an environment that does not respond to the challenges within the same environment. So when we're coming up with solutions, we have to be entrepreneurs or ventures. Young people need to be also very much aware of the challenges within the environment, so that they're not just focusing on profit, but also the people. Because you mentioned that Trace also has the people, profit, and I think purpose. You mentioned, if I'm not mistaken. I want to welcome Emma, and I'm being very much aware of time. Emma, who is an expert in project-based learning, and this is one of the elements that we are introducing in the youth entrepreneurship and change-making experience through the partnership between the International Trade Center and the Shoka, supporting the YE community here in Kenya. And Emma, this is my question for you, Emma. What are some of the trends that you've been able to see as an expert delivering, project-based learning solutions? What are some of the trends? What are the skills that you would advise youth to really hone in the fourth industrial revolution, and as the world continues to transition to online? We're in this state where we're constantly experiencing change. So how do young people adapt to this? What are those trends? Kindly share with us.
Thank you, Brian. So in my opinion, what I've seen the world over, and I have implemented project-based learning in many places around the world, we're talking a lot about change making, but we're also not talking about where change making starts. So the skills for you to become a change maker, you need to be well equipped with the 21st century skills, those being critical thinking, creativity, communication, collaboration, such as other things like information and tech literacy, leadership, social skills, but to name a few. So really what's happening, I feel personally, and it's not just here in Kenya, but it's around the globe, schools, primary schools and secondary schools are not fostering those skills within our young people. And these skills need to also be developed, not just individually, but in communities. I think that to be a change maker, like we have to be careful about the scale we're using when we set out expectations about change making, but it starts from within. You can be a change maker personally by creating or carving your own pathway to success by building on the skills that I've just named. And then also, as I said, especially with the collaborative piece, these skills in particular need to really strengthen within communities. And I think particularly when you leave the bigger cosmopolitan areas in the countryside and so on. So any kind of community initiatives need to be fostering these skills within communities, various age groups, diversity of communities, in order for change making to be successful. We need to think about change making on a much, much, much bigger level. So therefore the skills, as I'm saying, really need to be fostered at a much younger age in people. I hope that answers your question effectively.
Thank you, Emma. It does indeed answer my question. You're saying that the skills need to be fostered at a young age. And that is something that we've seen as an insight from the Ashoka Fellows, from this 4,000 network of over 4,000 leading social entrepreneurs. We found out that a majority of them started their change-making journey when they were really young. And that ties perfectly to what you've just said. And that is why now we're bringing the Ashoka Fellows to this youth entrepreneurship and change-making experience, and experts like yourself to be able to craft an experience and design an experience that young entrepreneurs here in Kenya and possibly across Africa can really get value from. And so thank you for your insight, and I appreciate you for just joining us today. I just want to bring one of our panelists who was tied up but now is able to join the the discussion with just one question, and then also welcome the participants to start sharing their questions with us. I've seen a couple of them. We'll have only questions for 2, just respecting our panelists' time and your time as well. And that is Mr. Irungu Nyakera. And let me just confirm if he's online. Sorry, Mr. Irungu Nyakera, can you hear us?
Hi, Brian. Unfortunately, he's still experiencing some inconveniences and won't be able to join us.
Okay, thank you, Zara. Unfortunately, participants were unable to get Irungu at this time just because of technical difficulties. It would be lovely just to have his thoughts also on today's discussion. I want to appreciate you for being with us since we started. For those who've joined us, please share on social media using hashtag #Changemakers. If you hear something that you want to quote and share online, please remember to tag Ashoka Africa, remember to tag the International Trade Center, and remember to tag Ye Community, so that we are with you also online. And now I just want to go back to my panelists, because we have a few questions, and I'm just gonna take 2 or 3 of them in the interest of time. And my first question goes back to Claire. I want to start with Claire. And this ties to what Jonathan Mativo was talking about, that we have spaces and platforms that young entrepreneurs can use. And ITC is providing this platform, the Ye Community platform, for young entrepreneurs to, interact with mentors, to gain skills and experience. Could you please touch on this? Because this is one of the questions that was asked. So how does the ITC, which platforms does the ITC provide for young entrepreneurs, and what sort of experiences can they expect on that platform?
Yeah, so ITC as a UN agency has actually a number of platforms that specify different target audiences. So I'm here to talk about the Ye Community platform, which is targeting youth. We define that as under 35. But we also have a platform that's specifically for women entrepreneurs of any age. That's called She Trades. We have a platform that is catering to sustainable ventures around the world called Trade for Sustainable Development. And we have an e-commerce platform. So we really target our interventions to different audiences. Within the Ye Community platform, as I put in the chat a few times, it's really a social good. And this is something that I think is important, and entrepreneurs, as Emma was speaking about, need these kind of critical skills. And I would say a critical skill is the ability to go out and be doing things for yourself, and really taking charge and not letting things come to you. And I think most entrepreneurs do have that, but I think there's a lot of sense now that there's so many things being thrown at entrepreneurs that if it's not given to you, that it's not out there. And that's not the case. The Ye Community is a platform that provides the opportunity to connect with more than 17,700 other young entrepreneurs and mentors around the globe. The opportunities to find a potential business partner, to find someone that you can trade with, to find a buyer, to find a supplier are enormous. And we also have a network of over 300 mentors, but it's up to you as the young entrepreneur that you are, the ingenious young entrepreneur, to go to the platform and to send a message to a mentor that makes sense, that they want to work with you. We have programs where we facilitate these linkages. We offer webinars. We offer right now what we call the Ye Coffee Roulette, where we have a pool of entrepreneurs and mentors that we randomly match every 2 months to try and facilitate renewed linkages. And we have e-learning courses that are provided by experts at ITC that you can access via the platform. But the point that I want to stress is all of this is available to you, but it's up to you as the young entrepreneur to go out there and take advantage of these opportunities. And this is also why we have this WhatsApp conversation. If you need support, if you need, let's say, some materials, some resources, if you're looking for a contact in Rwanda, for example, put it in the WhatsApp group.
find that linkage. It's out there, but it's up to you to use the resources that are at your disposal. And one last thing is, I've also posted in the chat, based on what Jonathan was saying earlier, that Yay community has a full list of startup tools that can help you operate your business. And many of these startup tools we actually use at ITC. There's so many tools available to you to help you navigate and manage your business that at this point, it's almost an overwhelming amount of information that's available to you. So it's up to you to define what are your priorities, what are the struggles that your business is facing, and to go to the resources that you have online and to put those into use to the best that you can. So if you are interested in building a better business plan, if you're interested in building a pitch deck, go to the Yay tools section, find a tool, put it into use, and upgrade your skills. Because as I said, that's a critical skill for young entrepreneurs, is that desire to go out there and take action for yourself and to make the world that you want to see, but also make the business that you want it to be, because it's available. So I hope that's answered your question, Brian.
It does, and I can see a lot of excitement. The young entrepreneurs are really excited about the platform, and they can connect with us on the WhatsApp group. I'm sure Ifra will be sharing the link to join that WhatsApp group. Ifra Arab is the Yay Kenyan chapter lead, co-leading with Leroy. Unfortunately, Leroy was unable to make it today, but Ifra, and again, unfortunately, Ifra was a bit sick. But she will be coordinating this.
Maybe if I can just add one more thing, because Ifra has lost her voice today, I can do a bit of shameless promotion on her behalf. Ifra saw an issue in her ecosystem that was challenging women from gaining economic citizenship. And economic citizenship just means being actively in charge of their finances and engaged in the economic structures. So she set up a business to ensure that larger suppliers could get resources, could get consumer goods to these women who could then sell them in their communities and make money and take charge of their financial well-being. This is something that was not existing, and she created it. Leroy, he's an amazing example. He's a Forbes 30 under 30 young entrepreneur. And these are the types of people that you can connect with in the Yay chapter Kenya and also the Yay platform online. Leroy saw that many people, and I'm sure you all know this, I don't have to tell you, but they're using traditional wood to burn and to cook, which produces a lot of smoke, which is really detrimental to people's lungs who are around that day in and day out. He created a composter that actually turns poop, biodegradable waste, into a material that you can burn for cooking. This is completely ingenious and is something that he's been recognized the world around for. But the possibilities are all around you. And I agree with Emma, it's about ensuring that young people have these skills from day one. Schools need to be teaching these skills, but also just, you know, if you see a challenge in your environment, talk about it, connect, engage, seek guidance from your community, and think about a way to address it, because the opportunities are really endless. And I know this sounds a bit cliche, but I really believe that, you know, there's potential. If you see a problem in your surroundings, in your society, work with your peers, and they have so much knowledge as well, and seek ways to address it. Ifra and Leroy have both done this, and they are great examples, and you can learn a lot from them.
Thank you for being, a voice for both Ifra and Leroy. I would have loved it if Ifra was able to just share her Changemaker story, because it's really a powerful story. I want to just ask Vincent another question, because we have a question here concerning the Ashoka mentorship program, and also how do can companies and institutions support young people to become change makers? Can they partner with institutions or organizations such as Ashoka and the ITC? So maybe let me bring Vincent in to address that question.
Yeah, thank you, Brian. I think, so I'll just kind of go back to what Claire talked about earlier on, powerfully in terms of ecosystem. If we are to support young people, their thinking obviously is to understand the different value chains of what they're working on. And for our organizations like ourselves, and of course ITC and the rest, is to find, those points where we can leverage, cultivating things with other organizations, other corporates, to move barriers for young people and to support them in accelerating their ventures. So I would say my answer is definitely yes. And I mean, we are seeing more and more players coming into the space, the youth sector space, figuring how do we support young people to accelerate their innovations, and the reason for this are pretty obvious. So this is it's a dividend, especially in Africa, but it's a population dividend that if we don't tap into and it's not directed in the right way, then it will just remain that dividend. So I think it is for a very good reason to invest in supporting young people, grow their enterprises, scale their enterprises. So the short to that answer is yes. And yeah, we are open to work with those that we have a strong alignment like we have with ITC. And of course, I think there's something that Emma was talking about, which I really love also, maybe if I can reinforce that on project-based learning, because it's one thing to talk about these things, and it's another to talk about them or hear about them. If you're having like a mentor and telling you, this is what I did, this is my experience. But it's also another thing doing it real time, knowing, applying that in real time, knowing where is the lesson, where are the gaps, and stuff like that. So I think it's broadly, we have to cast our net wide within the ecosystem and find those that we are aligned with in terms of the vision, and also those that bring particular strength, specific strengths that will come in handy in supporting the journey for the year chapter members and basically all the young people that we engage with. Thank you, Brian.
Thank you, Vincent, for that response and painting a picture for us. I just want to ask our last question as we wait for our closing remarks from Father Charles, who was with us earlier on but had to drop off to join another function. And this is to, Jonathan Mativo, but I will also allow just a short response to the question from the other panelists. And the question is, how do we as young people venture in a market that is concentrated by the old age people who don't understand the dynamics of the 21st century, and yet the gap in the market and seems to have patented the entire market? I think the question is, it's in the chat and I'm just reading it out, but I'm assuming the question is, how do young entrepreneurs enter in the market, and it's heavily saturated? How do we, design solutions? What do we need? What are the building blocks that would help young entrepreneurs enter into an already saturated market? What do we need to have in mind? And so, Jonathan, just 1 minute, and then I'll invite Emma to just give it from a skills perspective, also 1 minute, and maybe Danny from a corporate standpoint, having interacted with different young people from different geographies, and having an appeal to young people from different geographies, you've been able to witness some of the challenges young people experience when it comes to market entry and implementing their solutions. So maybe you can give us your take on that as well. So at least 2 minutes per panelist, and then we can finalize on our panel discussion today.
Thank you very much for this question. And I think in one way or the other, it has been answered. And my take would be that, yes, young people need to equip themselves with the right skills that are required. And the beauty of it is that many young people now, they're in that generation. I call it Generation Zoomers, very good in tech. But they also need to equip themselves with more skills, good research skills, good negotiation skills, for them to be able to get into a space that is saturated by the older generation. However, saying this, as an entrepreneur, you're driven by that passion. You're driven by what you believe in. And so one of the advice that we give, or I would give young entrepreneurs, is that keep on believing what you're doing. Do it. Don't fake it, but do it until someone somewhere comes in to recognize what you're doing. And I think it also boils back to many of the other organizations or companies that are willing to support young entrepreneurs. I think the best advice then would be do not expect them to have a fully baked solution. So as they come in, let's build their capacities, and let us be patient. I think with young people, we need to be patient and support them to grow their enterprises. And with that, then young people would create or find their space in this saturated market.
Thank you, Jonathan, for that. I just want to welcome Emma before she jumps off, and then Danny. And then Father Charles, you'll be kind enough just to crown this for us as we finalize on this launch today.
Thanks, Brian. I think to launch yourself as an entrepreneur in today's world, not just an entrepreneur, but actually, frankly, in any discipline, I think you need to understand the value of the people around you and not just see the value in yourself. The value is in the team and the strengths and weaknesses of different members in that team and community, because it's very hard to do anything solely on your own, I think. The second thing that I think is a critical piece, and again, it doesn't happen in school, so I feel, again, it doesn't happen outside of school as well, is simply building a portfolio. If you're in competition with somebody else for a specific role or a place in the market, I think building a portfolio is a critical piece to showing your value to the outside world. Obviously, as Jonathan has mentioned already, believing in yourself, your passion and your goals is the foundation of all that. But I think basically to showcase your work to the environment and the people around you, I think effective portfolio building is critical. And I think, again, it has to start in the early ages. And unfortunately, most of our academic systems around the globe at the moment are solely exam-based, which is a big problem. It needs to be about portfolio building, in my opinion. I have seen this work time and time again. And I think as well, it's a very autonomous piece. Each portfolio is specific to the person. So it's in a very individual showcase of you, your personality, and your successes.
Thank you, Emma, for highlighting that important piece of portfolio building. And then this could be something that we will just follow up with you so that you help our entrepreneurs build this further. I'm aware that many of them are not familiar with the practice, and you being an expert in this field, your expertise will come, it'll be invaluable to the whole process. Danny, I just want to pass it on to you, just to give your parting shot and address the question, and then we proceed to Father Charles.
Thanks, Brian. I think just in summation, I think mine is just to encourage the youth in terms of the opportunities are actually there. I don't think the adage that the dominance is by the older population holds true. And if you look at, and I always tell guys, if you look at the Forbes list 10 years ago, it was dominated by companies that were traditional in their approach. So, the Exxon, Mobil, the oil companies, BP, Shell, but today it's dominated by tech companies that were started by very young people. So I think the trick is to look at industries that are traditional, but are in need for reinvention. And I'll give you just specific examples. There are guys in Kenya called Soko. Soko takes artifacts from Kenya by just the normal guys and is able to market this artifact internationally. So you're able to go to a Macy's and you can get Kenyan stuff in those particular stores. And the price is amazing. So these are guys who've just taken things that are there and seen opportunity to sell them in international markets. If you look at Sandy's, Sandy is just a distribution company, logistics, that was started by very young people, less than 30. And it just picked on the need to be able to move goods and services from one point to another around this town, using boda and small tuk-tuks. So I think the opportunities there, look for traditional industries that are in need for reinvention, use a digital approach to it, try and scale it up. And then obviously, like all the speakers before, Jonathan, Emma have all spoken to, build portfolios so that by the time you're looking for funding, whether it's angel or it's round one, you've got a business idea that demonstrates a going concern, that is well thought out, that has got an ability to be scaled up and developed into a sustainable business. So mine is to encourage that you look for opportunities that you can actually disrupt out there. So if you look at, and it's anything, think about radio, you know, traditional radio talks to broadcasting traditionally, but you can do that online at 1/100th of the cost. You can do your own TV channel on YouTube now at 1/100th of the cost. So don't be discouraged by cost of investment or the barriers that traditional industries have put in the past. Go out there, be convinced about your idea, and just grow it from there, and I'm sure it will come to fruition in terms of what it is you're looking to do. Thank you.
Thank you, Danny, for your perspective and for sharing the insights. Just as I welcome Father Charles just to share the final remarks, allow me just to share some of the quotes that I took down since we started the session early in the morning. I remember the Chief Administrative Secretary talking about young people and young entrepreneurs, young innovators standing up, harnessing their potential and being change makers. I remember, Father Charles, you said the one adjective that you can use to describe yourself is change making. And I'm hoping that as you crown this moment and as you finalize this entire engagement, you will speak to that. The CAS and also Madam Ludmila Azo talked about breaking down silos for us to ensure that young entrepreneurs have access to learning and growth and creating an enabling environment for young entrepreneurs to scale up. Ladies and gentlemen and participants who've been able to join us since we started this engagement in the morning, I hope that you've been sharing your insights and the quotes that you've been able to take down on social media, and you've learned a lot. I just want to pass this opportunity to Father Charles just to sum up everything as we finish up on today's session.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Okay, I had two very nice pictures that I wanted to share, but I can't share the screen, huh? It's okay. I just wanted to emphasize one very important point related, and it somehow reinforces what has been shared already here. When we want to see change, when we want to see engage business, engage various things that want to engage to bring about change, we tend to think externally. And even in old economic theory, traditional economic theory, there's a lot of stress put on physical capital, that it is those organizations, those countries that stock physical capital that tend to excel. And over time, there's been an awareness and a realization that physical capital is important, but if it is not moved by a well-built inner capital of human capital, of human beings who are resilient, human beings who are filled with hope, human beings who are driven, who have a sense of purpose, that capital won't perform too good. But when it is driven by human beings with human capital, of emotional capital, spiritual capital. In other words, all those inner qualities that make a human being stronger in the midst of problems like we have now, poverty, sense of purpose, wanting to drive change. That's when change comes through. So I was going to share some two pictures that sort of demonstrate the important interplay between outer work, the work that we do with money, with physical things, and how that interacts with inner work, so that when we are engaging work, it emerges out of a rich self-understanding and a drive to better understand yourself and better yourself before you better the world. Mother Teresa once said, it was Mahatma Gandhi, be the change that you want to see. So while we talk about change making and some of the processes that we stress, I think it's important for all of this work and effort and desire to be underlain by efforts to cultivate one's inner life, to grow a sense of purpose. It's in a grown sense of purpose that moves somebody to say, wow, here are problems, here are difficulties in the world. I feel called, I feel empowered to make a difference, and that doesn't come unless we cherish the need to grow oneself, to cultivate your inner life, whatever method you use to cultivate your inner life, to be an empowered person emotionally, an empowered person spiritually, an empowered person from inside. Those are people that can change the world. That is why even when you look at authors like Steve Covey, he stresses a lot the importance of character, the importance of personality, but putting a lot of emphasis on character. And character is not something that we can go and buy or something we can get in a university. It's something that we work at, yeah? And that's very crucial. It's an important component of capital. Gone are the days when we used to consider the production function as capital and labor, and we're thinking of labor in terms of skills, the economics we learn or the entrepreneurship we learn. Now we realize that labor, that component of labor, contains other forms of capital that are spiritual, that are emotional, that are non-physical in nature, that we need to grow. So while we talk about, there's funding, there's no funding, that's important, but that's not the complete story. If funding and physical resources were the key and most important thing, Congo would have been the richest country in the world because it has physical capital more than any other country, physical resources of uranium, and so many other things. Yeah. So there are all these non-physical elements in the human person that we need to cultivate, and that's what groups like ourselves we provide to entrepreneurs, to foster that inner growth. And in fact, I'm not just like, because I'm a priest, I'm preaching. No, even in business school, there's a lot of literature that has shown that the most successful business leaders and CEOs are those that tend to cultivate their inner life, those that combine the sense of purpose, the sense of drive with the mission, those that can create transformation because they believe and they feel strongly that they can go through and against vicissitudes and bring about change. Those that believe that the outer victory comes from, first of all, from the inner victory. The movement from complaining, from being a victim to a leader. And that doesn't come from going to a business school. It comes from growth, from self-growth, from personal development. Those leaders that realize that they are co-creators of self, and they can't blame their genetics, they can't blame their background, they can't blame Africa, that they believe that they can co-create and that they can use their resources to make a difference. Those people are people, when they grow inside, they also look at the outside and see the need to collaborate, they need to network, they need to collaborate, they need to to build ecosystems of cooperation. Those are things you can't learn in business school. Those are things that you cultivate by growing oneself. And other than many other aspects of social change and social entrepreneurship that we provide, we put a lot of focus on that as Jesuits. And that's what I thought I could offer to crown the discussion. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Father Charles. And that was really inspirational and informative. I think one of the key objectives of today's discussion was to inform and inspire, first of all, our community with the Ashoka support network that includes, corporations, changemaker companies, and also inspire young entrepreneurs as we begin this journey. For the participants who are with us today, kindly remember that this is just the beginning, and we are now starting the journey with you, young entrepreneurs. As Ashoka East Africa celebrates 20 years, we are honored to have the International Trade Center work with us and the YEA community through the leadership of Ifra Arab and Leroy. We are glad that you're with us and you will be working with us. Claire mentioned, co-leading, putting youth in charge and not just designing solutions for them, but listening and putting them in positions where they can also create solutions and journeys that empower them. I do believe that, throughout the, from the beginning of the session till now that we're coming to a close, that you've been able to gain insights from our panelists. And there is a reason as to why we brought, an Ashoka Fellow on board, an expert in project-based learning, the International Trade Center, who are key allies in this process, Danny Mushira from, Trace TV, that large network, being able to reach young people, millions of young people, and the government, Ministry of ICT, Innovation, and Youth Affairs into this conversation to discuss and inspire the young entrepreneurs. Remember, you can share with us your ideas on how we can make this process, impactful. And you can engage with us. Ifra has been sharing a link to join the WhatsApp group. You can join that group as a young entrepreneur. I would like finally to invite Regional Director for Ashoka East Africa, Vincent Odhiambo, to just give us, his closing remarks for today's session.
Right. Thank you, Brian. I'm not going to take more than, I think we're already like 8 minutes beyond the time that we have scheduled this. We want to respect everyone's time. But from the bottom of my heart, really, and on behalf of the team, thank you so much for availing yourself. Thank you for sharing your insights. Thank you for sharing your experiences as well. And for the participants who are going to be part of this journey, mine is to wish you all the best. I think from the conversations that we've had here today, you've already seen what we always talk about, that we cannot walk this journey alone. And so we also know that you guys cannot walk this journey alone. So you can count on us to bring in the kind of expertise that we brought in today. And we're also counting on you to walk the talk. We are counting on you to stay in the game throughout, from beginning to the end. So from us to the rest, it has been a wonderful 2 hours, and we appreciate every minute of it. Thank you so much. But then I think there's just something that is coming through here from Irungu, who was supposed to be part of the panel. Brian, if you may just indulge me. So Irungu is saying this, we had posed a question to him, and maybe this is something that we can go pondering over. He says there is no focus. I mean, he has not seen any youth supporting. There's no favorable policies that have been put in place by the government. And so he says, at least for now, and the focus seems to be on easing business regulation through digital means and through youth fund business training and market linkages. But from the answer that he has sent here, I think there was one thing that I have picked here is saying, entrepreneurship is difficult, and more so for young people who have never been in employment. So how about apprenticeship programs where youth can be skilled in their areas of expertise, even as they work towards building their businesses? I think for all of us here who are seeing themselves as barrier movers for young people, I think that there is a call to action. Are we willing to take in young people, to work with them, to support them in this journey? With that, come to an end. Back to you, Brian. Thank you so much, and enjoy the rest of the day, and have a wonderful weekend.
Thank you, Vincent, for just sharing the remarks by Irungu Nyakera, who was supposed to join our panel today. Our panelists, thank you for sparing its 3 hours from the very beginning and working with us even before this session today, being able to co-create this session today with us. Thank you for your 3 hours. Thank you for your insights. And we will be engaging you further. To the International Trade Center, thank you so much for for the 3 hours, Claire, and also just engaging Ashoka in this journey. Ifra, we're looking forward to working with you, and also to the government, the Ministry of ICT, Innovation and Youth Affairs. Participants, thank you for your 3 hours, for joining us and engaging in this discussion, for your questions and reaching out to our panelists. Feel free to join the Youth Entrepreneurship Network here in Kenya. The journey has begun, and you can connect with us on WhatsApp and register on the YE community website platform to learn more. This is going to be a 12-month program where we will inspire you to dream it, do it, grow it, and we will celebrate it together. So we have come to an end, and I wish to you the very best for today. So allow me to end this webinar. Have a good day.
Thank you, Brian. All the best.
Thanks, Brian.
Do we have any checkout from our panelists? Final thoughts, final words? Type your checkout as people log off.
Grow it, celebrate it.
Thank you guys, and all the best.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you.
Bye, everyone.